Okay, here we go. Thought I was ready. Welcome to the new media show. We're back.
Doing the new media show again.
People are actually going to listen to this junk.
We do it live.
We're live right now.
We'll just do it live.
We're going live. We're going live. We just can't get enough. The new media show.
Let's go.
Just do it live.
We're going live. We're going live.
Bada bing, bada boom.
The new media show. We do it live.
Just do it live.
We're going live. We're going live. We're going live. The new media show. I'm like Adam Curry, and you're more like John C. Dvorak.
I think I am Adam Curry, and you're the old curmudgeon.
We do it live. Doing the new media show again.
The new media show.
Technology.
Whew. We make it sound so special. Yes, and here we are. Happy New Year, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Yeah, this is the last episode of this show for 2021. We can actually put that one to bed.
So I have to start right off here. For those of you that are watching,
Yeah.
What is that on your face?
It's a little shadow coming in.
A little shadow coming in.
Right.
So Mike
It's
and
a
I,
little bit of salt and pepper coming in.
Mike and I, Mike predicted you would grow a beard in our last show of the year for Podcast Insider, and lo and behold, you show up today, and what do I see? So now you've got something. Now Cridlin has something to write about.
Right. Well, actually, it didn't stop him from writing about it in the Pod News newsletter about a week ago.
What is the deal? What is the fascination with our beards? I'm kind of like, it's like, do I, what do I need to do next to get some attention? It's like, come on. For both
Todd,
of us.
just be careful not to rub against your foam pad on your microphone. It's going to make extra noise in the recording.
I'm doing that right now, and I am using beard butter, and mine is nice and soft.
Oh, well, that's a good idea, actually, Todd.
Oh man, this is so dumb. Anyway, hey everyone, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
You're itching,
yours
though.
is a little lighter than mine, I think, right?
Well,
right?
Rob, my hair was already gray. So but I have to, here's the next step, Rob.
There is a next step besides cutting it off?
Yep.
Okay.
You need to be bald. You need to go bald.
Oh, is that the magic formula? Right.
It's not a magic formula. It's just less to deal with. Well, actually,
right.
It is more to upkeep.
Yeah, because beards do require some
daily.
I've had them before, and they take some effort to keep.
It's easier to shave than have a beard, and it's easier to have hair and go to get a haircut than be bald too.
Right.
Shaving this noggin 2 or 3 times a week sucks. It just it takes time.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
I'm I don't have no hair anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So, hey, here we are at the end of the year. I'll be honest with you. Hard time concentrating this week. I've had to knuckle down. I've got one big project left.
Yeah.
And when the show gets done tonight, I'm staying here till it's done. If it doesn't till 9 o'clock or 10, whatever it takes, I got to get the project done. So I have one big thing left to do, but it's never ending.
Yeah, I've pretty much taken most of the week off here.
Oh, so good for you.
Yeah.
But I had an interesting thing happen today. I went to my gear locker and I was like, camera, wireless, microphone, light, because my gear's like, where have you been the last 2 years? I'm like, gear, it's CES time, and they it's like, oh, it's like, really, we get to go out and play. My gear is and really I'm charging batteries because I haven't used any of my remote recording gear. I've had done no stand-up interviews, nothing. So it's just like, matter of fact, I was kind of worried. I'm like, is it all this stuff still in the spot that I put it, where I think I put it? And
right. Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, so Sunday I head to Vegas. Omicron doesn't matter. I'm going.
I've heard that a lot of the big tech companies have pulled out.
Yeah, 3 or 4. But there's still 3,000 companies going to be there. So, but it's a real opportunity for me because CNET and The Verge are not going to be there.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So those two big names, and one of my teams is not coming because they've got some stuff going on. So I guess we've got it worked so that we're going to have a morning and afternoon show. I don't know exactly. I'm just showing up. Someone else is bringing the live streaming gear, but yeah. So it's going to be fun. And one way or the other, it's Vegas, right?
Yeah, that's true. You're
But
going to be in Vegas.
but it's Vegas wearing a mask everywhere. It's not just at the event. It's they're mask mandate in that town.
Yeah, I think what's going to be fascinating to watch is what's going to happen with this virus. I think it's going to sweep through the country very quickly.
Oh, I think it's already you're going to have a slam here from Christmas and New Year's, but after that, I think it's going to be over.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see what the fallout from that is afterwards. There's a slew of events coming up in the spring. I'm fully anticipating that those will be full steam ahead. It would be my guess.
Oh, I can't imagine that they're not.
Yeah,
if they're holding CES, if they haven't canceled CES, I think if this had come on 2 or 3 weeks earlier, I think it'd have been a different story. I think they would have canceled. But I think they're so far in now.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much stuff moving internationally, people coming here, airplanes full of gear coming from China, all over the world.
Right.
There's no way. So it's going to be interesting to see what the numbers are. Now, here's what I did notice. I booked my hotel in September.
Mm-hmm.
And for 7 days, $1,049 on Fremont Street is what my bill came to.
Mm-hmm.
With all these stupid fees. The room fees, nothing. It's all these resort fees and everything else they've added on now. That adds about another $300 to your room bill. And I said, I wonder if there's been cancellation. So I went and looked at the rates, and I made a new reservation and canceled my other one and saved myself $300. So that tells me that the hotel registrations are down considerably. So it's the cheapest I've ever, like $749 for 7 days all in. That's record low for me for Vegas for a week. So even on, but I don't know what the strip prices are. I don't stay on the strip. So, but anyway, that's where I'll be next week. I'll be walking around amongst maybe 100,000 people, and if I don't get Omicron there, I won't get it anywhere.
There you go. You're just going to get it over with, Todd.
Well,
that's kind of how all of us are getting to a point now.
I've had COVID twice. I've had both vaccines and the boosters, and of course, I better be careful what I say.
Right.
But
knock on wood.
Yeah,
right?
knock on wood. But oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got the antibodies. I got a blood test a couple of weeks ago. And I've got antibodies from the vaccine. So.
Oh, from the vaccine.
Yeah, I'm sure that you have it from a variety of things.
So we're off we go, and
right.
Here's the thing. I haven't stopped living during this whole pandemic.
Right, I haven't either.
So,
really. Sure, I'm not traveling as much as I used to.
No.
That's the big change.
And I got a message from United. There was no way I was making my status again, and I wouldn't have made it last year, even if travel would have been on. Because
some of the airlines extended them.
Yeah, United extend another year. So I kept my 1K status with only flying like 15,000 miles. So I think this will be the last year of amnesty. So I take advantage of having status for one more year. But anyway, it is what it is. People roll their eyes. Oh, you got status. Well, it makes a big difference for upgrades and everything. If you fly a lot, it's a Benny. But when you don't, back to the back, get in coach, go sit back there and be crushed in your tin can, right?
Yeah.
But so lots of prediction articles
Yeah.
out, lots.
Yeah, I was going to mention that as well. It seems like this is the time of the year, and we're certainly seeing a plethora of them. I have an article that I'm just about to put out too here soon. So hopefully, to add to the mix. It's it's one of those things, Todd. Do you want to read everybody else predictions before you do your own? Because could there be some bias in there from
I
other people's
uh,
things? And yeah,
here's the
yeah,
thing about predictions. Everyone has an opinion, So
right, right.
it is what it is. I've got my own 7 that I basically came up with that I think that, I don't know. And some of them are pretty general, so I have a pretty good chance of getting them right. Mike Dell, he already got one prediction right with you, so he's 1 for 7 now already.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for peer pressure, I guess.
No, well, that's okay. Peer pressure's good. But
But
go ahead.
one other thread of conversation related to podcasting, but not necessarily entirely podcasting, is the thread of conversation that's been sparked by Jacobs Media. Fred Jacobs has been talking about what's happening with radio in light of the developments over the last 6 months or so. He's doing this year-end kind of analysis because he usually does the 2021 tech survey, is what he calls it.
Yep.
But it basically is a survey of the radio industry and the sentiment in the radio industry and the developments and the trends around what's happening with radio and radio's market share and what's happening with that. And I think he's and then others are kind of doing this. I guess Mr. Howard Stern was involved in some conversation out there in the context of podcasting, and I guess he's still negative about podcasting. But as you think about radio, I mean, I think it makes sense that Howard remains kind of negative about podcasting because of his deal with Sirius XM, right? I think Sirius XM satellite radio is really one of the shining spots in the adoption of radio-like listening experiences as compared to traditional radio, which is still in the 90% of people listening in their cars, but it's clearly on a decline. Though the radio industry doesn't really like to acknowledge that very much when you read the articles about it. But you can kind of see the trend line there around the decline in the numbers. It's like maybe 2 to 3% a year decline. So now we're in the 90%, where next year it'll probably be under 90. So, which is still pretty big. So you can kind of see how that's developing, and it makes a lot of sense. Podcasting has never grown exponentially, and the on-demand side has never grown exponentially. So, you can see where there's a little bit of a yin and yang there. But one of the other data points that has come out of this tech survey was the commoditization of music, right? So I think a lot of the radio side has held on to this premise that, their radio stations were going to keep them solid as you look to the future, right?
Yeah.
But I think what we've seen with, a lot of the big tech companies coming in, Amazon Music, and, coming in and getting really aggressive about podcasting, that's put them in a more aggressive position to go after listeners. And I think that the pandemic has put things on fast forward into the digitization, right, of everything.
Yeah.
So I think those combinations have put a little bit of a collision course with big tech as opposed to radio. And you're starting to also see movement because of that migration of music listeners from radio to Spotify and these other digital platforms. You're starting to see the emphasis of radio start to shift towards talent, which takes us back to talk radio, right?
Right.
Which collides directly with what's happening with podcasting, right?
Mhm.
So you can see where the radio industry might be repositioning themselves, and they have been doing this. There's no secret here. I mean, all the big radio networks have been acquiring podcasting companies and hiring podcasting talent and doing exclusive deals with podcasts because they can see what's happening here. There's a shift towards talk talent, and maybe it'll go back to radio. I don't know. I think that's a big question. I don't know, Todd, if you have any thoughts about that, but that's kind of the summary of a lot of the discussion that's happening on the radio side right now.
So just one thing, Rob, before I continue, your camera's drifting again, in and out
Oh,
of
it is?
focus. Yeah. So,
Okay.
one thing that, well, on Christmas Eve, I'll get to the point, but on Christmas Eve, I hit a deer with my car.
Yeah, I
And,
saw that. Yeah.
so it's out of commission and at the repair shop. And yeah, Bambi didn't survive, sadly. But, the rental I got, has not a modern dashboard at all. So you can connect Bluetooth and that's it. There's nothing else. It's AM, FM. It's a Toyota. It's pretty non-sequential system. And then, it's getting me back and forth where I need to be. But so one thing I was doing was when I got in the car, it had come from Chicago. So all the radio stations were Chicago. Nothing had been programmed. So I went and let it run through and seek and program itself to be local. And I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of crap radio that's out there. I mean, it was literally, I was stepping through and it was like, ugh, 20 church stations, it just went on and on and on. Now, I'm not saying, don't take it wrong. And those of you that are religious, don't take it wrong. But as a whole, all of the content was horrible. Except for what I know locally, 2 or 3 stations that play classic rock, country. There's 3 or 4 really good ones in my locality. And I thought to myself, I'm like, in Middle America, radio is done because there's no way that some music purveyor from the 12 years old to 30 is listening to radio for music. It's just no way.
Right. There's no reason for them to anymore.
No. Now I've got a classic, I got an 80 station here, 70s and 80s station that, of course it's, my generation time when I was growing up, when I liked some of the music I was listening to that plays music I like. So for me, it's appropriate, but I can very simply go to Apple Music and get that same playlist of content without someone coming on and doing a commercial every 3 minutes or whatever it is. So for me, I think that I'll just stand by my stance that radio is not going anywhere anytime soon, but their days as they exist today are numbered. And it's maybe not going to happen. Maybe it's going to happen over the next 10 years, but I just can't imagine as people age up and we age out, so let's age out by meaning dying. The folks that have been on radio that are in their 70s and 80s and even their 90s who really maybe aren't as tech savvy and they've got an iPhone or they got an Android, but maybe they're not using it to listen to music. They're playing a game or they're on Facebook or whatever, but I don't think they're using that for music consumption. They're still turning to 100.3 WLKI. And so as those folks age out, I think radio's, just as I've said it before, and we've been at this 17 years. So, you and I were both at events no less than 5 years ago where the room would empty when a podcast topic came up. So if they've taken a different stance and maybe they're trying to figure out what their survival model is. But here's one thing that radio is still going to do. It's what you would hope podcasting had turned into at some point, but radio is local. And it's where you hear about the local deals, local car
Mm-hmm.
sales. I don't hear my friend who has a car lot. I don't hear their advertisement on Apple Music or Spotify, or I don't hear their come on down. We got the best sales on cars right now. We got special financing available. And I don't hear that on any of these digital things. As soon as those buyers of advertising
Mm-hmm.
figure out how to reach and where to advertise and have the type of budgets that they're currently spending to spend it digital, it's over. It's over for radio. When advertisers leave, it's over. So what it really is going to result on is your local folks saying, yes, I can target a tri-county area,
Right.
someone within 30 minutes of driving to my business to advertise to digitally. When they get that figured out and dialed in, it's radio's done.
And that could be where the whole programmatic dynamic ad insertion
Right.
comes into
Yep.
play here. Is once that scales, which it's still early days for programmatic, then those local brands can target to local communities. But that's going to require podcasting to get much bigger on the listener side than it currently is.
Yeah. But at the
Uh,
same point, though,
Right.
Programmatic is now working local for podcasts.
Right. It actually works right now.
Yeah,
right?
it works
Agreed.
right now.
Right.
So it is an interesting time. And so what was Fred's synopsis of his write up? What did he say? What is his thoughts?
Well, I think that the kind of takeaway from it would be it's more cautioning of the industry that they need to get more involved in. And I think Fred's been pretty outspoken about this based on the tech survey for many years now, saying that the radio industry needs to migrate more over to on-demand digital stuff. But yet at the same time, you're seeing, and this is another thread of articles that have come out over the last couple of days about live digital audio becoming. So we saw the upstart of Clubhouse, and we saw Twitter Spaces, and we've seen these big tech platforms get involved in live audio, right? Which is kind of also carving into radio's kind of space to some degree, right? And now Amazon is talking about a new product that they're going to launch called Amazon Mic, which is going to be another live platform that could be used for all sorts of live content that could be a replacement for other aspects of live radio, if you think about it. So, and where the advantage of these big tech platforms is they've got users already, right? That they can tap into to directly compete against radio going forward. And as they, Amazon has the smart speakers platforms, Google has their platform. So you can kind of see where the infrastructure is kind of either there or developing very quickly. Though there has been some numbers that have come out that said that the smart speaker adoption has slowed. I don't know if you saw those numbers, Todd, that there's this past Christmas and over the last 6 months to a year, the purchasing of the smart speakers has fallen off and flatlined. So I think we spent many years on a fast trajectory of growth and adoption of these smart speaker devices. What we've seen is a fall off of interest.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I'm not sure what that means in the long run. It could also mean that those platforms are now shifting over to being more integrated into cars and other, online connected devices and things like that are not like these little smart speaker devices. So I'm not sure what, I think Amazon came out saying that that report was not accurate, that the adoption of the platform overall is still growing. It's just that the purchase of those individual speaker devices has plateaued.
Well, because everyone's got 2 or 3 of them by now.
Yeah, exactly. Which makes sense. I mean, how many of us have like a couple of them in a drawer somewhere? So it's probably oversaturated.
Yeah, I've got a couple in a drawer someplace. There's one.
Right.
Matter of fact, there's one on the shelf I'm looking at that's unplugged.
Right. I've got a couple of those too. So, Yeah, I got a couple of them free. So it's like, but I don't really need that many of them. I think I
So
only use one. So
I did want to share. Blueberry put out their look back
oh
of
yeah,
2021,
yeah.
and
The top podcasts of the year, is that what it
yeah.
was?
So let
Yeah,
me see if I can
right.
find the screen here.
Yeah, I've got it up here too.
Yeah. So basic. Here's something interesting, and I want to make a clarification about one of these listings. So, our top podcast was the Lex Friedman podcast, followed by C Town. They were number 2, but interesting, number 4 for us was a Hungarian podcast,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and
Plus also Lex's podcast. If you're at all curious about what Mr. Elon Musk is doing, he just did a 2.5 hour interview with Elon Musk that is fascinating.
who did
So
Lex did?
Lex did,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
and he just published it. It's actually a video on YouTube too. I don't know if Todd, if you've had a chance to check it out
I
or not.
haven't, but
But there's some pretty serious bombshells that Elon dropped on
wow,
the future of the Tesla bot and the future of Tesla, SpaceX, all that stuff, and kind of seeing into the future of what he's trying to build.
right.
Yeah.
Peter Schiff show number 5, Sword Scale number 6, Hoy Hablamos, a Spanish show number 7.
Yep.
Jacobin, Jacobin radio number 8. Number 9 is Tuto Boluto. And then here's the interesting thing. When number 10 came up, and I was looking at the list, I'm like, he doesn't host with us. He's over on such and such. And what it was is I went and looked, and I'm like, oh, yeah, he is hosting with us. This is a premium podcast.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay,
he
got
uses us for their premium podcast, but what really is telling here on Pragertopia is that he's got to make number 10 with us and having
That's
a
a big
premium.
number.
That's a big number.
Yeah. So just so everybody knows, this top 10 list is based on number of downloads.
Downloads, yeah.
Overall,
Yeah,
over the whole
downloads
year.
for the whole
Okay.
year. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So, and then the top 5 episodes, again, based on total downloads. So, and again, here we have some that made the other, but, here's a show that didn't. Higher Side Chats, Joint Session Bonus Show, The Meetup, RIP, Mark, and The Mandate. That was Dark to Light. They didn't make our top 10 show list, but it made a top 10 episode, our top 5 episode.
Mm-hmm.
And in categories, we just listed the top 10 categories, top 10 distributions. Now, we didn't break out Apple Podcast, and so we kind of did some grouping. James asked us to go a little tighter on, some of the stuff. We will at some point. But people say, well, how can Chrome Mobile Desktop be big? Got to remember, our customers largely have websites. Heavy
Right.
on having their own .coms. A lot of consumption still happens in a
WordPress.
browser on
Right.
their websites. So this is why for us it still was number 2, but Spotify 6.73%. It was lower than what I thought it would be from it, and that's an annual average. But I think the thing that even shocked me a little bit was our breakdown of where the audience is listening. United States 55%. Canada 5.3, UK 4.8, Brazil 3.4, Australia 3.1, but everything else 28%. So 28% of the consumption of all of our podcasts that we host happened internationally.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's a big number. So we're, if you look at it from another view, 45% happened outside the United States. So that was kind of a big eye-opener for me, that it shows that the diversity of people listening across the planet is pretty big. Now, we've got a big Brazil. We have a number of shows that host with us from Brazil, so that's why they make up 3% in our stack. But, this metro area stuff wasn't too shocking. New York, LA, San Francisco, top 3 markets. But the fun one was Glendive, Montana, smallest
What?
Smallest. So if you live in Glendive, Montana, you're out of
What's
290.
the population?
I
What's the
don't know, but
population?
it's a Nielsen metro zone.
Oh, okay.
So it was at the bottom. It was number 299, and the number was pretty small.
Okay. Like single digits or
It
no?
was pretty small, so where, and of course, if we'd have continued on that top cities list, every city that is a major city would have been 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, all the way down until you got out of the big city zones, and then it kind of went more regional. But I had, we really never pulled this data like this before. We're going to start doing some more. We're having a meeting in January to talk about our distribution list, so we can make sure that it gets a little more refined, because everybody said, what's the Apple podcast number? Well, Apple, it's 60.018%. Apple podcast is not at 60.18%.
Right.
So that rolls up a whole bunch of Apple stuff per se.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think it's interesting, these global audience numbers that they have, Todd. I think we've been talking about this show for the last probably couple of years, that we're just seeing this this wave of podcast adoption around the world.
yeah.
And that it may very well be growing faster outside of the U.S. than in the U.S. And these numbers kind of show that to me, that is likely what's happening here.
It wasn't too long
Right.
ago
Right.
that the United States would have been
Well, like 80%.
70, and then if you add in UK and Canada, that would took you to like 80 or 85.
Right.
And then the 15% was the rest of the world. Well, we have way moved beyond that.
Yeah.
So.
And I believe it's still got a long way to go. There's a lot more people outside of the U.S. than there are in the U.S.
So I will say that this is was a survey, pulled from our data of how many billion? In the billions of downloads. I'll leave it at that.
Mhm.
I don't think, if I said the actual number, I think I'd get in trouble with the team, but it was in the billions, multiples of billions of downloads for the whole year. So
It's a good sample size. It's a good
yeah,
sample size.
in every, again, I think a lot of it has to do with the customer makeup, and it's telling. And what's kind of funny is, we spent a lot of time this year looking at customer personas, and it fits this client distribution fits the personas of many of our clients. So it is an interesting lineup of data, but yeah, we're going to get it more refined and start doing stuff on a regular basis. I know you guys put something out as well. And it's interesting how the numbers are pretty varied from host to host. This distribution point is going to vary from show to show.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
So, and again, this is a whole year's worth of data. So
Right.
it was actually December 1st of 20 to December 1st of 21. So there was just a little overlap into 20 because I wanted 12 months of data.
Can you share a little bit more clarity on the top 10 categories? I think it's interesting.
It's just, again, it's in no specific order.
Oh, it isn't. Okay. It isn't a ranked order
it's
list.
not in a ranked order. So, so basically that was the breakdown.
So is that the most popular listened to, or is that the most popular with the number of shows?
It's for our show makeup. These are the top 10 categories of shows that host with us.
Got it.
So again, in no specific order. We should have probably put a star there and said that, because people say your top category is tech.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by that too. That probably explains why your Spotify number is so low, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But that's no specific order there. So.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. But anyway, it's kind of fun to put that together, and our interns took care of the graphics on this, so they did a great job, and I'm very, very pleased.
Yes.
So Rob, what is I'll give you my number one prediction. I've got a number of them. We can talk about them, and I'm sure you've got a few. My number one prediction is that Facebook will be number 2 by the end of 2022. But according to Pod News today, dun, dun, dun,
Okay.
dun, there's supposedly some monkey business happening there. Now, here's the thing. James, if you're listening, if their download breaks the criteria for it to be called an IAB certified download, we're going to count it as a 1. So I sent this over to the tech team this morning. I said, I want this investigated immediately. Of course, no one's going to be back until Monday.
Right.
But he indicated that some of us might be counting this nefarious activity that he's suggesting. So,
well, he also implied that if you're on IAB certified numbers, that your numbers are not going to count this. So, I don't know if you read the full article.
Oh, I did not.
Yeah.
I just read the headline. So, what was in the article? What was
if you're giving access to counting based on just uniques, which is kind of like what we've had in the past, that it could very well show those particular requests.
Who's not IB certified yet?
Well, it isn't so much that. He was referring to Lipson because Lipson has the ability to toggle between uniques and IAB.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
Huh.
That's been that way for years now.
Why?
I don't have an answer for that, Todd. Yep.
So, do you guys give some sort of disclaimer and when they switch the toggle that this shouldn't be used for billing?
I mean, what's public information about this is that the company decided to prioritize IAB numbers for higher paid plans. So the lower tier paid plans, the $5 a month and the $10 a month, don't come with that option as a option.
Well, that sounds like quite the marketing opportunity. Blueberry gives IAB certified stats to all customers.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I tend to agree with that approach. So,
yeah. Well, okay. Well,
but
it does cost a lot to process that data.
Well,
but,
and that's
but it's
the thought
it's
too,
more,
right? I mean, is that
it's more, but it's more
larger, right?
Yeah.
I mean, larger and more serious shows would be the ones that would be interested in having IAB numbers, right? Because they're probably more involved in the advertising business.
But but it's negligible. It'd almost be more expensive for me to do it 2 ways. Because then I got to keep track of this pile and keep track of that pile. So for us, we just have it in one pile. I'm sure you
guys. It's also a way to keep. It's also a way to keep older data too. So.
We went back and reran.
Right.
Multiple years of data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that can cause issues too with.
Well,
shows,
that's when you take the adjustment. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
so I'm sure that there's going to be, some further thought on that.
Okay.
Let's put it to you that way.
So my second prediction is, and this is just an obvious one, there's going to be more consolidation of conglomerates buying podcast companies. Easy one.
Yeah, I think there's going to be more consolidation, but I think it's an ongoing situation, especially as the larger media companies get more involved. I think that the kind of milestone thing that we saw, and maybe I'm not seeing it probably entirely the right way, but the acquisition of Captivate by Global, which I thought was an interesting. Now, granted, Spotify also just bought Whooshka out of Australia, which is a pretty small host, out of Australia. But having a UK or a European-based media company acquire a podcasting company is something that's relatively new.
It is true.
Yeah.
My third prediction, there's going to be more advertising opportunities for independent podcasters. And I say this because of what I'm working on. So,
well, I think we're all working on trying to make that better and
Yeah.
to scale it across larger numbers of shows and to get CPMs up.
Yep.
And, I mean, it's obvious with the acquisition that Libsyn made of the AdvertiseCast platform that it's a big part of our priority.
Yep.
Now, much more than it has been for most of the life of Libsyn.
Yep.
So, and then premium too, which is another thing.
It's funny you say that, because one of my predictions, more companies will exercise private podcasts. Well, you're talking about premium. I'm talking about private podcasting. But private podcasting is crossover.
Right. There's some crossover there, but I think premium is more paid for subscription. I think it's where it's happening.
Whereas
it's always been there. But.
Yeah. I would contend, I don't see big excitement around premium. By the big players, yes, but
it's never going to get huge. It's always going to be like 10 or 15% of the market.
Yeah.
As the market grows.
If it's that much, I'll eat my hat. I don't think it'll be 10%.
I think if you look out 5 years from now,
maybe
it becomes more developed and more investment. I mean, I keep hearing more about projects being invested in out of Hollywood. It's like a pipeline now that's fully developing, and it's been developing for like 5 years now. So this is another example, Todd, just like what you were saying, is that there isn't anything revolutionary going on in podcasting that's going to happen next year. It's all evolutionary.
Yeah.
Right. It's taking what we're doing, over the last 3 years, and it just gets a little bit more adopted, and it just grows gradually. Everything in podcasting grows slowly.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I say my number 4 was the growth of the podcast space will go back to pre-pandemic levels. We're already seeing that.
Yeah. I think the number of new shows has plummeted.
Right.
Back down to, I don't know if it's comparable to what it was in 2019, but
we need to go look at Daniel's numbers, because he does have that available public, and maybe that he can back that up with us. He'll send me a text or something after the show or next week, and I need to go back over and look at his website and see.
I saw somewhere that was saying that it actually has dropped below what it was.
Oh, I would not be surprised.
Like in the sub 10 range, 1,000, what I'm saying.
I got you.
Per month, where we were seeing
50,000.
50 to over 100,000.
Yeah.
I think as soon as early as like April, it was like this past April, it was like in the over 100,000 range.
Now, my number 6 prediction is absolutely assured, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Anchor will add another 1 million dead shows.
I don't think they're going to be adding them quite as fast, and they're mainly going to add them to their own platform, not anybody else's.
Right. So. But they'll add another 1 million dead shows. Now, here's the one. Apple, are you listening?
Right.
This is my number 7 prediction, and I know this is one you can get on board, Rob. Apple will open up API submissions to Apple Podcasts.
Yep.
That's my prediction. And I have no insider information on anything. I just be very clear about that. And no one has whispered in my ear anything. So
I would tend to agree with that prediction, Todd, myself.
I would, I would hope so.
Well, I mean, I think if you look at, if you can clearly see in the number now a motivation for that.
Yeah, there is.
From the difference in the podcasts, the index catalog, right, of having 4.5 million shows.
Well, that's been explained.
Catalog.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm not saying that it's incorrect. I think it is correct.
Yeah.
But that explains the discrepancy to some degree between Apple and that index, is the fact that Anchor decided not to auto submit.
Well, they were
too.
I think they were. No one has said anything.
Right.
No will confirm or deny. That would be a good one. But I think Anchor was.
The plug was pulled?
I think the plug was pulled. That's my hypothesis.
I don't think anybody, well, obviously somebody knows, but.
They won't tell us.
Nobody's talking. Let's put it that way.
No. So anyway, that was my 7 predictions for 2022. we'll go back and look at these next year and we'll laugh at them. But I don't know. To me, what I have felt over the last, and not just the holidays, but the last month, I felt a slowdown. It started before Thanksgiving, a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of a
Mhm.
slowdown. And
Mm-hmm.
normally we get inundated with tech support questions. Now, either we're doing a better job, which I think we are, but usually we get inundated with tech support questions over the holiday period as people take time to tweak their podcast and all that. My sport team has
Mm-hmm.
gotten a little bit of a breather. It's been real simple stuff that they've been responding to, but maybe we're just doing a better job with our UI with all these UI updates that we've done. So,
Right. Right. Right.
not creating the easy button, but making it easier.
Easier. Yeah. Yeah. I think. Yeah. I just think just generally there's an evolution that's going to happen, and I think you covered most of the important ones. There's no question. So I've got a few others out there too. I'm trying to find my document that I am in the process of creating.
Well, if you've done it in Google Docs, all you do is click on recent and it'll be there.
Yeah, that's the idea here. Let me see if I can find it really quick. And let's see here.
But
Where
did you
is
notice something on the set today? Something has changed.
it?
Oh, you missed it. The logo. I put our regular logo on the lower screen.
Oh yeah, the
Eh,
square,
Yeah,
the square logo.
and I have to show you something. I don't know if I showed it on the last show, but I got sent a Matrix bear for Christmas. He's now on the set here.
Wow.
It's from Build-A-Bear. Any
That's cool.
Any of you buddy
Yeah.
are Matrix fans? They've got a bear for and I did go see the new Matrix. I don't know if you're a fan.
I went and saw it as well. I saw it the opening night.
So I need to watch it 2 or 3 more times. I actually need to go back and watch the series again and then watch it again. I'm still, some stuff I'm a little, the connection stuff wasn't super tight, but wait, how do you think they did?
Well, I think generally the movie was a setup for more
Right,
movies.
for more.
And that they had to reintroduce some new characters. They had to orient the audience to what the story was all about. I think that the other motivation for that movie was to drive people to go back and watch the older movies, to get educated, because they had a lot of inside jokes going on, or inside knowledge kind of stuff going on, which is what you want to do for the heavy fans.
This is what I want to know. And all women in the country are asking, how did Carrie Ann Moss, who is Trinity in the Matrix, not age?
Right. I think she must be good at staying healthy, I guess.
You can tell she's aged a little.
It's the same thing with Keanu Reeves.
Well,
he's in his 50s.
That's
right?
true, but he's got money for plastic surgeons, so maybe, maybe the same thing. But I was pretty shocked. I hadn't really ever followed her, and was kind of waiting to see what she looked like when she showed up, and I was just like, whoa, she, she's still a beautiful woman. She's always been a beautiful woman, but.
Right.
She is aged gracefully. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It was amazing. But,
well, Todd, I found
go ahead.
my article and their topics here. Haven't finished it. I was going to finish it today, but I just wonder if we're reaching a point, Todd, where some exponential change might be on the horizon for podcasting. I just wonder. I'm not exactly sure what that looks like, but it just feels like we've been kind of like teetering on the edge of something big, especially as we think about what's happening with technology, right?
Well, I think that the opportunity, and matter of fact, I was trying to get the clip, but Mike didn't respond. he wasn't watching Slack. I think Adam and what's going on with Podcast 2.0 could be some of those exponential changes. Could.
Yeah. Yeah.
The crypto piece with Lightning.
Yep.
I think that could be major. I think it could be really major.
Yeah, and there may be some changes to how we think about monetization on podcasting too.
Oh, it's for sure.
Yeah, especially as we think about cryptocurrency and blockchain and those kind of things as you look to the future, right?
Yeah.
I mean, certainly this exponential change isn't like happening next year, but it happening over a time span of like over the next 5 years. I think we could see some dramatic evolution and change, and I do think more and more bigger companies are getting into this medium. And I also think that there's a trend line around loss of full show control in the podcasting space too, as you think about more and more shows outsourcing help around production and marketing, and it just feels like the medium is moving away from single show hosts doing everything, right? And that may have something to do with why we're seeing a decline in new shows. And I think there's an opportunity, I think, to grow podcasting into another direction, which is shows that are built around teams. And I think we're seeing, that evolution, because I believe that may tap into content creators that have been on the sidelines. So they may have more resources. There are people that have existing companies or businesses or operations that can take advantage of podcasting,
but Rob,
that haven't been involved.
That's
right?
Just a small number.
Well, it is right now. I agree with you.
I don't think that's going to grow into tens of thousands of teams. I think that is a very, I don't know. I think independent content creators who can sit down.
Oh no, these are still independent content creators. It's just that there's a lot of people, and I hear from these people all the time too, Todd, and I'm sure you do too, that would love to have a podcast, but they don't have time to do all the detail work of it, and they have resources that they want to put into it because they're so busy with their regular work that they don't have time to do every little part of this project. So they're still independent producers, but they're just looking for, editing help or that kind of, or publishing help or those kind of things that will spark the creation of new podcasts that weren't being done because those people were too busy to do everything. So that's really what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think it's going to be limited numbers that are going to do teams because, people have resources, but resources means not hundreds of dollars; it's thousands of dollars if you have a team. And then you get into.
I think it's a scale issue of what you consider a team to be. I mean, I'm thinking just getting one person to help you with the production. Right.
Yeah.
Is the spectrum of what I'm talking about here.
And I have one person that helps me with production.
Right.
My bill for that on a monthly basis is about $250.
Mm-hmm.
And that's if I'm running a full 8-episode run a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's about what my support cost is for someone doing pre-prep work for me, pre-research work. So, and it's pretty inexpensive. That's $30 an episode. So, what is that? That's 2 hours, right? 2 hours of prep that I don't have to do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's well worth the money I spend to help someone do prep for me. But I've got a show that's easy to do prep primarily. So I don't know. I don't think some shows are as easy to prepare for.
Right. Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, I would tend to agree that people are definitely spending more money. For sure.
I think if you think about trying to reach out to potential podcast creators that are outside of the traditional podcast pathways, right? Those that are maybe involved in YouTube or doing other types of content creation. I think that's another area that I think we'll see develop in the new year too, is this crossover between YouTube and podcasting. I think it's still not 100% clear exactly what YouTube's role is going to be in the new year around podcasting. But I think it's safe to say that it's going to be an expanding role. And how does video play into all this too? That's the other part of it too. I mean, like what we're doing with this show, Todd, we're a fairly good example of what could be done, right? With a lot of podcasts, that we're seeing a lot of advanced kind of movement and development at Riverside FM with the Squadcast folks. These live streaming platforms are becoming more powerful and more able to produce high quality audio like we've never seen before. So in this convergence between the video and the audio stuff is definitely reaching, a high point, I would say.
One thing I will mention is, and I noticed it a couple of weeks ago. I was doing, I always monitor Facebook, and all of a sudden, closed captions start showing up for any live event I was doing on Facebook, and I've been kind of watching it today.
Right.
This thing is rocking. They've got this dialed in like nobody's business. I rarely see a bad word. They're catching the uhs and ums. It's pretty amazing. I'm watching it scroll right past me, and it's about 15 seconds behind. So the Facebook has got this live captioning thing figured out for Facebook Live. It's on, and this is 100% accessible. I mean, this is fantastic. So in that regard, I think we're going to have more advancement as well in the coming year on that topic. Right.
Around kind of live closed captioning type of thing, or on demand closed captions too.
Yeah.
So, right.
But
that
go ahead.
But that gets back to transcription technology, and then that takes us into this area of AI. Having algorithms run through content, and is there going to be some benefit to the podcasting industry around content discovery that comes out of that? I do feel some pressure from a host standpoint. I'm sure you see that too, for more hosts to support transcripts, and then also the listening platforms definitely need to do a better job on that. That's primarily where it needs to be, is where people are listening, right?
I think my perspective as a host is I have to enable podcasters, our customers, to be able to embed transcripts and give them some additional tools to make their players more accessible too. So I think from my perspective, I have a pretty clear vision of what we need to do internally. And it's going to be some phases, and we'll have to figure out where that where that timeline is. But honestly, it's overdue.
Yeah. So I was reading some predictions from Jason Hawk, who's the current president of podcasts at the Imperative podcasting group, and he's the former kind of head of content at How Stuff Works for many years. So he's been in the medium a long time and has built shows on big platforms. I mean, that was a platform that was acquired by iHeart, a few years back. But he has some thoughts about, and this is probably a little bit controversial, but his thought was that the industry at large, and what the bulk of the industry is a glut of talk show podcasts. And this is what he says here. And he says many more of those talk show podcasts will fail than break through, as old stalwarts may find themselves being nudged out by up-and-comers. So are we talking about a transition, a generational transition? Is that what he's talking about?
So is he taking a shot at radio?
No, I think he's taking a shot at the OGs of the podcasting space. or the ones that have been around a long time, or the ones that people think of today, will find themselves nudged out by new upcomers. So
I hope we have lots of new upcomers.
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
But somehow there's a glut in the talk show podcast space
so
of shows that will fail.
They talk about podcasts or just talk shows?
Just talk shows, right?
Okay, I don't necessarily agree. Was he talking about Rogan then?
Well, I think what the friction that he's referring to, and I'm seeing this kind of more generally, is the attention, and this kind of follows into the next item that he has in his list of future looking things is look for more celebrity talent driven podcasts, but pay attention to those that are a part of narrative fiction and non-fiction series. So I think he tends to be biased towards the kind of narrative format versus the talk format.
But he says keep an eye on talent base. In other words, famous
celebrity,
people.
right?
It's bullshit. He's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be a balance of that.
Yeah,
right?
There's gonna be a few of them, but
a lot of them fail.
Yeah, a lot. They don't do any better than a lot of podcasters do.
Right. Yeah.
Because they're actors and they act, and in real life they are just regular personalities with an opinion like the rest of us.
Yeah. And he also agrees with us too that the programmatic side is going to solely replace the host reads as a dominant aspect of the podcast ad business.
Well, it's not going to replace. It's going to allow those that have not been able to be monetized. Those that are fully capable of monetizing and doing host reads are going to continue to host reads. Host reads are not going away anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree with that. Totally. His other comment is that TikTok is the #1 threat to podcasts, is his comment in here. Think about it. It's personal experience that kills oodles of time and lives on your phone, reaching the always hard to reach young audience.
Well, I'm going to tell you, TikTok has invented a time machine. I've said it again and again. You can sit down with your phone and be on TikTok, and the next thing it's 3 hours later, and you think, what has happened? Mm-hmm. And here's the thing about TikTok, though. People are getting fired left and right because they are
spending too much time on TikTok?
No, they're putting way too much information on TikTok. They're putting stuff out there that is being discovered by their bosses, and they're talking about work. They're doing activities that may not represent companies well. YouTube has had a number of people done YouTube stuff that have lost their jobs because stuff they've said on YouTube. But TikTok is so easy to do a 15, 30, or 60-second clip, or if you're in another tier, you get 3 minutes or whatever. People are putting their life out there and life stories that they could have stayed anonymous with in podcasting where they can't in TikTok.
Right.
Or they could, but they wouldn't be able to show their face. But I'm astounded, literally astounded by some of the things I see on TikTok that I'm like, why would you put that out there? It's ultimate clickbait heart. It's really
right.
Yeah. And I could see it. But I don't think
but is that an opportunity for podcasters if it's done right? Could be.
It's a place to be able to promote a podcast if done right. It would be very, and it depends on what your content is.
Right.
And TikTok leads you down into rabbit holes that you never imagined you would find yourself in. You just heart the right kind of content, and next thing you know, you're like the next 30...
It's a stream of it, right?
It's a stream of it. and it's almost
Right.
impossible to get out unless you
Right.
don't heart anything. And
Right.
I don't know. TikTok is a different animal. They have man, they have really hit a home run with that platform for sure. But
I mean, if you look at the Instagram platform and Facebook, they're kind of doing the same thing.
but
Uh,
it's have
you
you
know, with their
been on
stories, and
TikTok, Rob?
I don't spend much time there, but I do on the Instagram and Facebook
See, I
side.
spend no time on Instagram
Hmm.
at all. And
Okay.
for me, I don't know. I just don't find compelling content on Instagram. So maybe it's my age, but I find a lot of stuff in TikTok that I'm like, yep, I'm shaking my head, or nope, or I can't believe that person just put that online. Because you
Right.
can download those videos. You can download any video that you watch. And you're like, okay, I've got this person's life on my phone now. So yeah, I don't know. It's a interesting dynamic, but it's definitely a time machine.
Yeah.
You got to have a boring Tuesday night, just fire up TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've been forewarned.
Right. It's true.
I don't find anything else is there's no other platform that is as compelling right now as TikTok. They definitely are on the edge, and the creators over there are just working like crazy to build followers. And
Hmm.
to what goal? There's no monetization yet on TikTok. You get endorsement deals or something. That's the only way you really don't. There's no advertising model on TikTok unless you buy advertising.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Todd, did you see the kind of research or data dump that Stitcher did on the year-end stats
No, I didn't
off
read it.
off of their platform, and they're showing that listening is back. A small dip we saw during the pandemic wave one and wave two have fully recovered, and in fact, listening has grown. This
They saw a dip.
well, I think if you went back far enough, yeah, I think they did see a
We
dip.
didn't see a dip. I know that's one thing. We didn't see a dip. We never
Right.
saw a dip.
Yeah, that's good.
There was, I think you guys saw a little dip, just a
Right.
minor one, but
Yeah, it was back in like was it November, December of 2020?
yeah, we saw
Right.
no dip. I've seen
Right.
that. I have no. Again, I think it all depends on the type of content on the platform.
Right.
Hmm.
So, so it says on Stitcher that the top 5 most searched for podcasts were Dateline NBC, The Daily, Crime Junkie, True Crime Garage, and Morbid. The top 5 most searched hosts on Stitcher were Conan O'Brien, Rachel Maddow, Ben Shapiro, Ezra Klein, Bill Burr, and Breneen Brown. So
A few names on that list surprised me.
yeah, it's it's interesting. It's kind of
I don't.
it's kind of mainstream, kind of
I,
celebrity
I
types,
don't
right?
go looking for those types of people. I
Right.
really don't. I avoid them.
But maybe that explains why we're not seeing any kind of growth in the adoption and use of Stitcher either.
I
So
I I
I
avoid
don't know.
I avoid some of those talking heads because
Right.
they've been talking about the same thing for 3 years, been spewing out of their mouths, or two
Right.
years.
Yeah.
Some of those folks, in my opinion, are not healthy for your amygdala.
Right. Well, I mean, it is all of the traditional players, which is really interesting. I mean, a lot of the shows in here, like their 2021 rank, number one is This American Life. Number two is The Daily. Number three is Radio Lab. Number four is Crime Junkie. Number five is Stuff You Should Know, Freakonomics and uh, My Favorite Murder, Pod Save America, Planet Money, Conan O'Brien, right? That's their top 10 ranking.
So therein lies the difference
Right.
in that.
There's not any new shows on that
No,
list.
and you
It's
saw
all old shows.
my top 10 list. 8 of those you've never heard of, or 7 you've never heard of them before.
And they're outside of the U.S. for some of them.
Right.
These are all U.S.-based shows that have been around for, I don't know,
eons.
15 years. Yeah, 10 years at least.
Who has ever heard of the world and everything in it?
Right.
It is a top 100 Apple podcast.
I mean, I guess it does speak, Todd, to the real diversity of this medium. And you can't really take any particular data set and make it apply across this whole medium, right? Because it's much more diverse than any one platform can really represent accurately out there. Yeah.
Who would have thought that a premium show from Richard Prager, I think that's his name, would make my top 10? I was astounded. I still am. I actually checked the numbers 3 times.
Right.
Because I was like, really? And I was just and I was blown away. And they make my top 10 list. You have to move some downloads because I've got some shows in Brazil. My Brazil shows didn't even make the top 10 list. They're moving some major media. So it's like, I see the download report every month. I actually see the terabytes moved a month. I know how many terabytes the Peter Schiff show moves. I know how many terabytes Lex Friedman moves, but I don't look at downloads.
Right.
So.
So it also has a breakdown off of Stitcher of the way shows with fewer than 25,000 monthly listens, and that's also an interesting little take on this, right? There are no listens in podcasting per se. It's all downloads, but these are the ways that shows that have fewer than 25,000 monthly listens monetize, right? How they make money from their shows, right? The number one is self-sold sponsorship or ads, 26%. So advertising, 26%. Those are shows that are less than 25,000 monthly. That's not
per episode,
weekly monthly. Or per episode, right? And then the second most popular, the second most popular one is 22.7%, which is donations. So I thought was interesting. About 47% of those shows is monetizing with some sort of revenue coming in from merchandise sales. So it's like 47% are making some revenue from merchandise. And then the other big number is, what's the big number? Oh, paid platforms like Patreon or Glow FM on the paid side. So shows that have like maybe bonus content over on those platforms. And then it looks like ad network sold sponsorship or ads is about 9.6%. So that's ads sold from like Midroll or Megaphone or the advertised cast platform or any of those kind of things. And then the next one is YouTube at 8%. So they must be doing some percentage of their audience on YouTube, and they're able to run ads on YouTube. Well, that means generate some revenue.
Well, that means they're doing big numbers on YouTube to be able to.
Well, it's only 8%.
But still, 8% of those shows that are 25,000 or under are able to generate revenue on YouTube. To me, that's significant because this show never gets anywhere close.
I think it depends on the content, right?
Well, it's probably true too.
Yeah, and then the last one is live or virtual events at 7.1%. That was interesting. And then shows that are more than 25,000 monthly listens a month, those shows, say 57.7% of those shows make their revenue from self-sold sponsorships or ad sales.
Gotcha.
Or ads. I mean, the line between sponsorship and ads is kind of
Yeah, it's the same.
but it does tell you that a big chunk of shows that are even larger than 25,000 monthly listeners are doing their own ad sales, which I think is interesting. And about 36% of those shows are working with a ad sales network, right? Like a mid-roll or
Right.
of a megaphone or whatever. And then donations are coming from about 35%. And it looks like paid membership is about 41%. So, it just all the percentages go up. And probably what this really means is that the larger your show becomes, the more able you are to create multiple revenue streams.
Right. And we've known
Means.
this.
Right. So the payoff is good if you can build your show big and then develop all these monetization strategies.
Right.
So,
well, I think that again, the shows that are at 25,000 downloads a month or above, matter of fact, those shows are 10,000 downloads a month or above, are the ones that are potentially, have some revenue coming in for advertising, but it still leaves the rest of the podcast space behind.
Right. Todd, also, did you see the iHeart, their announcement that they had launched, I guess, a partnership with Coast to Coast AM?
I did, yeah.
For a podcast network. I thought that was an interesting kind of convergence between talk radio.
Here's the thing. Coast to Coast has been running premium for years. You could get Coast to Coast as a
paid
platform for 20 years.
Right.
So it's actually kind of surprising it's taken this long.
Right.
Because I thought it was available via podcast already anyway. So.
Well, they're launching a podcast network.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I guess the partner is with the Premier Networks folks working with iHeart, I guess.
Got you. Well, I tell you, powerful brand right there, especially for you're into conspiracies and you're into UFOs and paranormal and.
Right. It's George Norrie.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that means that there's going to be multiple spin-off shows. It doesn't specifically say, but it does. Oh yeah, it does say that here in the article. There's going to be multiple shows that are co-produced by George, with a bunch of new producers that are going to come in and produce, like maybe 3 or 4 other programs.
Yeah.
That have separate hosts. And it looks like 2 out of the 3 are women hosts.
Oh, good.
Yeah. As women take over the podcasting space. Safe to say.
So I tell you what I've been doing, this is another aside.
Yeah.
So anytime I get an email from a PR person from CES that says this company has pulled out, would you be interested in a virtual meeting? This is my response. Sad they chickened out. We'll be there in person. Not interested in virtual briefings at all. See you next year.
Wow. Putting your stake in the ground there, are you a little bit, right?
Yep.
Show up or get left out.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
And I'm going to reward those that are there. That are willing to not be scared.
Right. Because I'm not really sure there's much to be scared of with this.
Well,
this particular.
There's a lot of pressure, Rob. There's a lot of people that it's. Everyone has been listening to too damn much mainstream media. I'm not denying.
That's a topic, Todd. That's an interesting topic too, because I do think that there's a decline in people watching that stuff now.
I don't deny that we've lost a lot of people. I don't deny that a lot of people have gotten sick. I'm not saying that at all.
Right.
Okay.
No, I mean, it was a real thing.
Yes, but this is here. This is not going anywhere. It's here forever. This ain't going. This isn't going to be gone. This is just going to be another thing, another thing, another thing.
Yeah.
And at some point, in my personal opinion, you got to get to living again.
Right.
Yeah, I see foreign countries locking down again, locking down.
I mean, even in places like China, I guess they're locking people in their homes and not letting them out at all. People are getting locked in by the government. Yeah.
Well, it's been kind of that way in some countries too.
Right, right.
You look at New Zealand and Australia and some of the crazy shit they did down there. Excuse my French. My goodness. My goodness. How they didn't revolt, I don't know. But, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
We've had the vaccines. We've had the boosters. Let's go.
But it doesn't seem like this particular variant is really packing much of a punch.
I don't contend or pretend to even be an expert. I don't know. I don't care. It's you know. I can drive down the road and get hit by a semi. You know, so it is what it is, and it's at this point for me, it's a acceptable risk, and if I pay for it, then I pay for it.
Todd, you could also, slip in the shower too. What are you
Absolutely.
Not take a shower.
I almost got paralyzed from a swimming pool accident, so it's like
right.
I've already had a life changing moment.
Right.
So
right, life has its risks.
Yeah, it does. But anyway, I just wanted to share. That's what I send back. I'm being a little snarky at this point.
Like that never happens, Todd.
No. So what we need to do is make sure that we have a good podcasting events this year. So let's get out and let's shake hands and
let's also focus on all of us as a society and a culture and a species.
Yeah.
Focus on getting healthy.
Yeah, there you go. Well,
building up our immune system.
That isn't protecting some people. So it doesn't matter if you're healthy or not. Of course it helps.
Definitely helps.
But a lot of healthy people have died. So,
not quite as many.
Well, still enough. But here's something no one even knows about. In Hawaii, they're having a water crisis right now. That's
happening all over the world, actually.
Well, this is more serious. It's of their own doing and knowing.
Oh.
I used to live in Red Hill.
Mm-hmm.
It's an Army AMR. They call it Army Military Reserve. They have housing inside. And surrounding AMR are huge, huge, huge tanks of diesel, jet fuel. And they've been there since World War II. Well, Hawaii's water is not too far down. And they've warned for years that if these tanks leak, it could be devastating to the ecosystem. Well, the tanks have leaked, and they've got a half dozen or more of the wells they've had to shut down, which is not allowing a quarter of the population. So anything now, the rest of the system's going to be under stress. But these tanks should have been shut down years ago. But it's a national defense issue. They can't keep the fleet running. So the Navy's going to have to figure something out now in a hurry, because they're causing an ecological disaster that could devastate Hawaii for a long time in their natural drinking water.
Mm-hmm.
But you haven't heard that on the news.
I would think probably not.
Of course, you don't hear about Flint anymore either, or Benton Harbor, Michigan, where the pipes are full of lead.
Still a problem, right?
Right. You don't hear about any of that, but
how many years later?
Right. How come we couldn't fix that? So, yeah. Just drink water until you die. It doesn't matter if it's got diesel fuel in it or jet fuel. It's we laugh, but it's not funny.
No, it's not. It's not. It's kind of disappointing, right?
It is. you know, and they've known. I knew when I moved to Hawaii, 35, when I moved there in 19, they were talking about this in the 90s, you know, and
Yeah.
here we are, 2021, almost 2022, and oh, the tanks are leaking. Big surprise. Hello. They were put in during World War II. You think a tank you put in the ground, how long was, what, 60, 70, 80 years ago? Isn't going to leak?
Yeah. Right.
Oh, my God.
That's why a lot of people are pulling those oil tanks out of the ground and, having tanks above ground.
Yeah. When my family was in the head construction business, we had diesel and gasoline tanks in the ground, but my dad was way ahead of everybody. He put in a concrete containment system.
Containment around it.
He had everything he knew if those tanks would ever leak. And he, and people are like, "You're crazy. You're spending all this extra money." And he's like, my well is 37 feet away, and the well is only 42 feet deep. He says, "Do you think I want diesel and gasoline seeping out of that tank into my home's drinking water?"
Drinking water, right? No, you don't want.
And he said, "There's no expense. This is common sense." And he did this in the 70s. So, you're not going to put a fuel tank where you've got close to your well.
No, that doesn't make any sense at all.
No.
Right.
It's just common sense. A little concrete, 10 trucks of concrete or whatever it took to make that box. If they'll bury you in a concrete crypt, why can't you put fuel tanks in a concrete crypt? Go figure.
Well, just put your tank above ground in the basement or something like that.
Well,
you don't even have to bury it.
These were 10,000-gallon tanks. So
these are too big for that.
Yeah,
right?
Each. So it's not like there's going to be if you have the property for it, put them above ground. But you still have to have a containment system underneath it in case it leaks. And probably your risk of leaking is worse there because you get struck by lightning, exposed to the environment, but at least you'll see it dripping.
Right.
Oh, man. So anyway, I've got us way off topic here, and we're near the end.
Oh, that's good. Well, that's good, though. We made it.
Yes, we
on
did.
A light news week.
Well, I think we covered some good ground here. So,
yeah.
What you doing for New Year's? You going to go out and participate with the amateurs and whoop it up?
I don't know. I'm probably just going to stay home.
As one of my coworkers said, he says that by midnight he'll be long asleep. So
he's gonna sleep his way into the new year.
Yeah, my sister's having a New Year's Eve party, so I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to attend or not, but I've got to fly out 2 days later, so I don't need to be drinking on New Year's and nurse a hangover on the 1st and then get on an airplane on the 2nd. I can nurse a hangover from drinking in Vegas because there's going to be enough of that going on anyway.
Yeah.
So
that's coming up quick.
Yeah, so if any of you want to, I don't know exactly, but I know where. If you want to watch any of the CES content that I'm going to be producing, it'll be at geeknewscentral.com. It'll be pinned to the top of the website. So our live stuff, I don't know a schedule, but I would assume probably about 10 a.m. Pacific on Wednesday will get kicked off, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
So are we doing a new media show on the 5th?
No, I'm not going to be available. So no show next week.
Okay. So, but a show on the 12th?
Yep, I'll be back.
Okay.
So that will work.
That'll be our schedule. I'll try and get a guest on that we've been shooting for a while.
Oh, that would be interesting. Oh, well, that would be big to get that individual on. Is it who I'm thinking?
Marco.
Yeah. Well, you can pull that off. That'll be a coup. He doesn't talk to nobody.
Right. Well, he told me he would do it in January. So
okay. All right. So
hopefully,
put him on.
Hopefully the 12th might work.
Yeah. If any of you have questions for Marco, submit them to us. I'm Todd at blueberry.com, at Geek
And
News.
if you don't know who Marco, it's Marco Arment, who's the creator of Overcast.
So again, you can send an email to either Rob or I, Todd at Blueberry.com, at Geek News on Twitter. Again, no guarantees going to be on, but if you send the questions, maybe that'll help.
Yeah, I'd like to get him on.
Rob,
and I can be found on Twitter as well, at Rob Greenlee. And then you can send me an email to robg@lipson.com. And love to hear from you. Love to get feedback from you. What your thoughts are on what you think is going to happen in the new year would be great too. And then we can talk about that a little bit in the next episode.
So we're going to go ahead and bounce out of here. I'm not completely prepared here because I don't have the right screen up. Let me see if I can do this real quick without embarrassing myself. There we go. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Set your resolutions and let's look forward to a better 2022.
Yes.